Hello again, Joy Quilting here. Today I'm going to show you how I add borders onto my quilts. I'm showing it on a small quilt so that you can see the whole thing. So before I start adding a border, I measure through the centre of the quilt because that's the most stable point of the quilt. Measure from one end across to the other. Here we go. Mine's 30 inches. Okay. Go. And then I get my border that I cut and I put a pin in just one end, just after the end, to give yourself a little bit of leeway, and then a pin in 30 inches away from that. Okay, so that's here. I don't cut them to size at the time, and now I know that this is the same as the centre of my quilt. The reason you measure the centre is because if you just add a border onto an edge without measuring, the edge of your quilt could be quite stretchy, depending on your seams and how you cut things, and the same goes for the border. And as you're going along, they can stretch, and you get wavy. That's when you get a wavy edge on your quilt. So this avoids a wavy edge. It keeps it all very stable. So lay down your border, right sides together, matching up. I put a pin either end. I would then fold it in half, going ahead of myself here, fold it in half, put a pin halfway along, that's going to be 15 inches, and go from the 15 to the end, put another pin, the same with the other side. Gives me a few markers. I then take my quilt, measure halfway along, put a pin, and halfway between that and the end, and halfway between that and the end. So I've got little markers. Okay, and there are my little pins matched up. You lay them down. I'm going to try and do this. I wouldn't do this way round, but I want you to see what I'm doing. So I've matched those up, match them together, get them even there, put a pin in. Okay, and I would then put a pin where the next pin was. Now you might have to pull a little because this is, you'll have to ease some of it in. This is how it's going to keep it from going wavy. Okay, once I've got them two, I would then put one about 2 inches apart, one there, and continue working between each two sets of pins along the quilt. Alright, there we go. When you've done that, you take it to sewing machine to stitch 1/4 of an inch all the way along the length of it. Okay, here I am now. Started stitching my quilt. Okay, using my 1/4 of an inch foot. And if you've got a needle down function where your needle always stops down in your work, use that because it helps when you stop. So I'm going to stop, take the next pin out, okay, and the needle down holds your work nice and still. And then you carry on, going to the next needle, pull it out, and if there's any easing in to do, you hold the work. Okay, I'll hold on to that now to ease up the bottom in. So there's a little bit of loose there. And I'm holding it with this hand quite tight and holding with my finger. I'm just working my way slowly across the seam. Okay. Okay, next we're going to trim off the edges. So trim off the extra either side. Okay, and then we're going to press it. Okay, I like to press my work to set the stitches in place, and then I'm going to press it over to open it up. and we're going to, that's that side done, and you then do the same to the opposite edge, adding a 30-inch in my case border. Okay, I've got the two opposite borders on. Next thing, you measure across the middle in the other direction, across the middle of your quilt from one edge to the other. Okay, this is 22 1/4. So you cut yourself some strips a little bit bigger. Same thing again. Put a pin either end, one in the middle, either side. The same on your quilt. And we're going to pin that to that and stitch these two sides on. Okay, that's my third side stitched on, and I'm just pressing it out. So I'm ready now to add the fourth and final one opposite to the third one. Okay, and my final border is now on. I have pressed the stitches, so I'll open it out. Okay, and here we go. Here's my little quilt with the 4 borders all on. If you wanted to add another set of borders, you just do the same thing again. Measure through the middle. You just could continue the same. Next week I'll be showing you how I sandwich this quilt, put it together with the backing and the wadding. So, bye.